You know, nothing means more to me than this gang. The bond we share. It's the most real thing to me. I would kill for it, I would happily die for it.
Red Dead Redemption 2. There are many relationships that carry emotional weight, but none come close to the complicated, raw, and heartbreaking connection between Arthur Morgan and Dutch van der Linde. A young outlaw, desperate for purpose, a charismatic leader, promising freedom, and a dream that slowly turns into a nightmare. In this video, we're exploring the full evolution of Arthur and Dutch's relationship from start to finish, and answering 3 key questions. Why was Arthur so loyal to Dutch? Did Dutch truly care about Arthur? Or was he manipulating him from the very beginning? And how did a father-son bond slowly collapse into betrayal? Let's go back to where it all began. Arthur Morgan was just 14 when Dutch van der Linde found him. An angry, lost teenager with a rough past and no real future. Dutch could have easily passed him by, but instead, he took Arthur in, gave him shelter, food, and something far more valuable: purpose. And in a world as cruel as the American frontier, that meant everything. To Arthur, Dutch was more than a leader. He became a father. Not a perfect one, but the only one Arthur ever had. So, where did Arthur's loyalty come from? It wasn't just about gratitude. It was about identity. Dutch didn't just give Arthur a place to sleep. He shaped his worldview, taught him how to survive, how to think, how to believe in something. He made Arthur feel like they were different. Like outlaws weren't just criminals, but rebels fighting against a broken system. And when you take a kid with nothing and give him family, purpose, and belief, that loyalty runs deep. Deeper than logic, deeper than self-preservation. For years, Arthur stood by Dutch through thick and thin. Not because he had to, but because he wanted to. And in return, Dutch showed Arthur a kind of affection. He trusted him with big jobs, referred to him as my son, and most importantly, made him feel valued. So, did Dutch actually care, or was it manipulation? Early on, it's hard to deny there was genuine care. Dutch spent years raising Arthur, molding him, and protecting him. There's little evidence to suggest it was all an act. But here's the thing. Even the most genuine care can coexist with control. Dutch wasn't just a mentor. He was a master manipulator. Even in those early days, he taught Arthur what he believed, not necessarily what was true. He romanticized the outlaw life, painted the gang as freedom fighters rather than fugitives, and Arthur, young and impressionable, absorbed it all. So yes, Dutch likely cared about Arthur, but he also shaped him in a way that made loyalty feel mandatory. Doubt wasn't just discouraged, it felt like betrayal, and that's the foundation they built everything on. By the mid-1890s, the van der Linde gang was a well-oiled machine. More members, more jobs, bigger dreams. This was their golden era, and Arthur was at the center of it all. Dutch leaned on him constantly, trusted him, praised him, and Arthur, still loyal, still believing, continued to serve without hesitation. But something started to shift. Dutch wasn't the same man he used to be. He was louder, more erratic, less thoughtful. He chased bigger and riskier jobs, driven not just by survival, but by ego. Arthur noticed. He began to see cracks, plans that didn't make sense, violence that seemed unnecessary, decisions that got people hurt or killed. And yet, Arthur stayed loyal. Why? Because that kind of loyalty doesn't die overnight. When someone raises you, gives you purpose, and tells you that you're special, walking away from them feels like tearing out a piece of yourself. Arthur wasn't blind. He saw Dutch changing. He questioned it internally. But every time he tried to raise concern, Dutch would brush it off with charm or philosophy. He'd say it was all part of the plan, that they were fighting for something bigger, that the world just didn't understand them. And Arthur, caught between doubt and history, chose to believe, because belief was easier than betrayal. But the cracks were getting wider. Then enter the Blackwater. A job that was supposed to be smooth turned into a disaster. People died, the gang barely escaped. And Dutch was different after that. He stopped explaining himself, he stopped listening, and for the first time, Arthur saw fear in Dutch's eyes. Not fear of being caught, but fear of being wrong. And that fear changed everything. By 1899, the van der Linde gang was spiraling. They were on the run, hungry, tired, and divided. But even worse than the law chasing them was the way Dutch was unraveling. He became colder, more ruthless, less interested in the people around him, and more obsessed with one last big score. And this is where the tragedy of Arthur and Dutch's relationship fully unfolds. Arthur's loyalty had always been rooted in the idea of Dutch, the father figure, the man with vision, the one who gave him meaning. But now, Arthur wasn't seeing a father. He was seeing a man drunk on power, a man clinging to a crumbling dream, no matter who had to suffer for it. Micah's rise didn't help. Dutch started favoring him, listening to him, and slowly, whether consciously or not, started pushing Arthur to the sidelines. At first, Arthur tried to fight for Dutch's soul. He defended him, pleaded with him, gave him every chance to show that the old Dutch was still in there. But Dutch didn't come back, and that's when Arthur changed. He stopped trying to save Dutch and started trying to save others. John, Abigail, Jack, even the gang members he didn't always agree with, because Arthur realized the dream was dead, and Dutch wasn't coming back. Then came the moment that sealed everything, the mission at the oil factory. In the mission, My Last Boy, the van der Linde gang teams up with Eagle Flies and the Native Americans to launch an all-out assault on Cornwall's oil refinery. It's a chaotic battle. Fire, gunshots, screams, and Dutch, Arthur, and Eagle Flies fight their way inside. As the mission nears its climax, Eagle Flies is mortally wounded. Arthur and Dutch carry him out amidst gunfire, and this is where Dutch's mask slips again. While Arthur tries to save Eagle Flies, to do something right amid all the chaos, Dutch is distant, cold, almost indifferent to the young man's suffering. Arthur urges him to help, to care, to do something, but Dutch's only response is that this is what sacrifice looks like. During this fight, when Arthur got nearly killed in front of Dutch, he did this.
We got one! A white one! Dad? I need help!
After this scene, Arthur finally sees the truth. Dutch doesn't really care about his family. But even after this, Arthur didn't even try to kill Dutch. Until the end, Arthur stayed loyal to Dutch. He gave everything he had. Arthur Morgan's loyalty to Dutch wasn't blind. It was earned, built over years of struggle, belief, and survival. Dutch gave Arthur purpose, a family, a code to live by. But what makes their story tragic is how that love was twisted. Because Dutch didn't start off as a villain. He started as a man with dreams, and maybe even good intentions. But as the years went on, his pride grew faster than his wisdom, and his fear of failure became stronger than his love for the people around him. And so, the man who once called Arthur his son chose power over family. Arthur didn't die because of Dutch, but he died knowing the truth about him, a truth that shattered everything he once believed, but also gave him the strength to finally live by his own code, one built on redemption, not blind loyalty. And that's why their relationship still haunts players to this day, because it wasn't just a betrayal, it was the slow, painful death of a bond that once felt unbreakable.
I gave you all I had.